you already had a guideline which was combating fake news. Two or three questions here. First, what is the need for amendment or making this guideline even more stricter in the way you've done it now? And B, there is a lot of discomfort over the wording, phrasing, a particular phrase used in the guideline, which is any business of the central government. Now, what was the logic behind bringing in that phrase?
So, Raghuveer, first of all, I hope that the first part of that you were uneasy about I have addressed.
Yeah.
I would like that assurance, because I'm very patient and I like conversations, and I'm happy to explain. On what we did in October 2022, and I have to explain that, then I'll get to fact checking. We have basically in 2006-07, and I was on the standing committee of IT as a new MP. The IT Act was amended, and this whole concept of a safe harbor for social media intermediaries was brought in 2007-08, and then that was passed as an amendment. I was one of the few people those days to oppose it, saying why should social media intermediaries be given a free pass for the content on their platforms? So anyway, everybody came up with an explanation saying they are just dumb, they don't know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. All that usual happened. And anyway, water under the bridge, we are where we are today, where social media platforms and the big tech platforms have assumed tremendous amount of power in terms of access to the internet. And they have also become, unfortunately, big ecosystems for misinformation, criminality, illegality, user harm, all of that. So for all the force for good that the internet represents and the big tech platforms supposedly represent, they also have a significant component of all of this harm that is going on. So that we accept. In October 2022, what we said was, look, and this process started in May 21 with the first set of amendments. So we set out a new framework for the social media intermediaries that said, this Section 79 immunity that you have under the Act is granted to you on the condition of Rule 3, which is called a due diligence rule. I.e., you are protected from any litigation provided you do your job of ensuring 9 types of content do not find place on your platform through your own active moderation of the content, and or in the event you are pointed out that there is this 1 to 9 content, you will take it down. Okay, so that is due diligence. Even in October 2022, a social media platform could very much turn around and say, no, we are going to keep all 9 of them. No problem. Nobody is forcing them to do anything. But all that meant is that in October 2022, and it will be true today also, that the moment they violate their due diligence or do not keep up that condition, then the Section 79 immunity falls. And it was accepted by everybody, including the intermediaries, because it was developed after a lot of consultation. Turns out that one of the issues, that one of the 9 conditions is 31B5, which deals with misinformation and patently false information. Okay, which is a broad thing that applies today, and they say the obligation is cast on them that they should be moderating content that is misinformation or actively false information, patently false information. Now, it turns out that intermediaries say when it deals with the government, they are not in a position to decide what is patently false or misinformation. Private sector, they can still have credit fact checkers and blah, 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 blah. They can do all of that. They can send questionnaires to the companies. But in the government, because the government is the only one that has information about the government, or will have, that they wanted the government to set up a fact-checking unit that will say, this we will label as wrong, this we will label as patently false, this we will label as misinformation. So we went and what have we done in these guidelines? We have only said we are taking further the October 22 guidelines or the rules and adding to it that there will be a fact-checking unit that will be notified that will label information that pertains to the government as misinformation or false when it is encountered or when it is noticed. The rights of the social media intermediaries are the same. They can ignore this. But if they ignore this, the only thing that happens as a consequence is the Rule 7 applies, and then the aggrieved department of the government, since we are talking about government, will have the right to pursue them in a court of law and have that matter adjudicated. That's all. There is no chilling of free speech. There is no any of this huge hoopla that is being created by people. None of that happens. Why doesn't it happen? Let us assume today in Hindu business line, somebody writes a story that is fake about the government or indeed about. No. That's why I said this. Let's pretend for a minute. I already have the right as a government under the existing laws, whether it is defamation, under criminal law, to pursue my right to natural justice. I don't need the IT guidelines for it. I don't need the intermediary guidelines. The media today is already has a framework of do's and don'ts and legal accountability framework intact. The only people who don't have any legal accountability principles are the social media platforms. Because of the Section 79 free pass we have given them many years ago in 2008. So this is only to deal with social media platforms. And there is no attempt, there is no possibility of these rules being used against media or digital media. So this has to be clearly understood. And so a lot of people who are going out there, I think have not read the rules, have not understood how the rules work. And or there are people, of course, who have a professional sort of a over-invested thing about how this government is out to finish off citizens' rights. And I want to also tell you, I foresaw this in 2022. And under Rule 3(1)(n), we have written explicitly that no fundamental rights of any Indian citizen can ever be violated by any platform, including Article 14, 19 and 21. It is in the IT intermediary rules as a rule. I mean, beyond that, if you still have to have imagination going awry and conspiracy theories prevail in your mind, there's not very much I can do about that. I can only tell you repeatedly, this is how the rules function, this is where the rules end, this is where the rules start, and this is about creating accountability for these very powerful big tech platforms that have escaped accountability all this while because of the Section 79 free pass immunity that they've had enjoyed from 2008 to today.